invasion. It is hard to imagine that Brezhnev, whose Yiddish-speaking grandparents had immigrated to the United States in the early 1990s from Russia and Austria, was unaware of the deal to give the Port Authority security contract to Atwell Security of Tel Aviv. Malcolm was, after all, a legendary figure among Zionist Jews, and who owns Atwell Security and now ICTS? Lord Jacob Rothschild.
Read it!
It turns out you can't base a reserve currency on quant trading and SaaS companies.
Well, and that's exactly right. And by the way, you know, I'm this is like maybe super heterodox. I am not sure that I think the reserve currency is actually good for the United States of America. I think there is a good argument that reserve currency status is akin to coal in Appalachia. It's a resource curse, right? It allows your consumers to consume very cheaply, right? That's been the story of the American economy for the last 15 or so years. Even before that, is we can just borrow basically in an unlimited way because we have the reserve currency. So that's a massive subsidy to incurring debt. The debt is cheaper, even in raised interest rate environments. This is one of the crazy things about what's going on right now is the market is in some ways pricing future interest rates lower than what the Fed is right now. That's kind of weird. So we have this massive subsidy to cheap debt for the American consumer. Well, that's good, right? Consuming is important, especially food, medicine, things like that. But I think it's a massive tax on American producers. So the weirdest thing, just one final point on this. I know we're getting the weeds of financing globalization a little bit, but the weirdest thing to me about the last 30 or 40 years of the American economy is go back to previous eras of globalization. And what you normally see is the rich country investing in the poor country. The poor country is elevating its standard of living and also providing some products that the rich company needs. Okay, that's the story of the UK helping America industrialize in the early part of the 19th century and into the mid-19th century. With China and America, it's been almost completely inverted, where American consumers are borrowing money from Chinese peasants to make the things the Chinese peasants, or to buy the things the Chinese peasants make for them. Okay. So like money is flowing uphill. Like that's actually the nature of the American economy for the past 30 years. We've been borrowing money from poor Chinese people so that we can buy the things they make for us. That's really weird. And I wonder if that's a consequence of the reserve currency status.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is really, really important. Doing an interview today, but we need to talk about J.D. Vance and the US dollar. This is vital to understand. This is an emergency broadcast, as good old Alex Jones might say. Dana Loesch, this woman, this creature, this is the one defending Erica Kirk, is going to talk about, she's going to be my sounding board. She's good friends with the McCains and the daughter. All right, so she's in the old Dick Cheney world. Okay, she has to defend a lot of indefensible things, and she finds it very, very difficult, you can tell. But I'm going to use her as a sounding board to what J.D. Vance is about to say. This is so disturbing. I'm glad. Now I can hate J.D. Vance. Beautiful. Oh, thank God. He needs to go. Yeah, 100%. I have to still do some more research. The US dollar, the hegemony of the US dollar is not good. Oh, really? Oh, really? Belt and Road Initiative, multipolar world order, boy. Yale, skull and bones, boy. Are you kidding me? What is going on? What's going on now? We have to draw this out. We have to extrapolate this. We have to understand this. And we're going to talk about Silicon Valley Bank. If you want to know, I bought down the Silicon Valley Bank with Mike Gill. Mike Gill's a piece of shit. I despise that prick, what he did. But via that work up in New Hampshire, we actually bought down Silicon Valley Bank. And you're going to say, what are you talking about, O'Connell? Well, I was going out with the sister of the JAG of General Milley. Oh, yeah, lots of people came calling. And I said, Mike, give us all the stuff. It's going to be handed directly to her brother, Colonel you-know-who, and at a Starbucks. And she's going to take that directly to General Milley. And he goes, oh, okay. So I wait 2 weeks. He doesn't give me anything. Till I said, what's going on, Mike? All this paranoia, can't leave your place bullshit. And he just effed us around. We raised over $48,000 for him.
I know it's an ask, but I know you guys, if anybody, are the right people to ask to be with each other, to be with our clients, to try to come with the best outcome we could think of in this situation. Thank you, and my heart is with you, and it's really hard for me to deliver this message, but I so appreciate all the things you've done for me and for SVB over so many years. Thank you.
Yesterday, some of the biggest banks in this country, Wells Fargo, Bank of America, JP Morgan, Morgan Stanley, collectively lost more than $50 billion in market value in one day. That's quite a hit. On the other hand, those banks still exist, and you can't say that for Silicon Valley Bank. As of this morning, Silicon Valley Bank, or SVB, has gone under completely. That makes the second biggest bank failure in the history of this country. And it's significant. SVB financed nearly half of all venture-backed healthcare and technology companies in the United States. It also apparently held significant cash reserves for some of the biggest cryptocurrencies, and it's now gone.
But also the stringent changes in capital requirements where the banks were forced to hold treasuries. So essentially, when money starts going out of the door in deposits, these banks like SVB are sitting on losses. And so when you have to start realizing those losses, boom, you need to raise capital. It's very simple. But I want you to listen to Jenny Yellen. She was the Treasury Secretary. And she's saying, oh, no, don't worry. This is isolated. Listen to this.
I will just say, you mentioned Silicon Valley Bank. There are recent developments that concern a few banks that I'm monitoring very carefully. And when banks experience financial losses, it is and should be a matter of concern.
Silicon Valley Bank was a really extreme example of what happens when the Federal Reserve hikes interest rates, and it was compounded by the fact that the bank has this concentration in startups.
The internet and financial world is abuzz. How did Silicon Valley Bank suddenly collapse over 2 days? Quote, the company's downward spiral began late Wednesday when it surprised investors with news that it needed to raise $2.25 billion to shore up its balance sheet. All told, customers withdrew a staggering $42 billion of deposits by the end of Thursday, according to a California regulatory filing. End quote. Really? Now why would that be? A perfectly good bank. For 5 years running, Forbes named it the Bank of the Year for 5 years running. There are multiple theories flying around. People are trying to link it to exposure to crypto and Sam Bankman-Fried and FTX. Others state it's a complex set of factors to do with the recession and less demand for technology. And SVB, or Silicon Valley Bank, was obviously a heavy Silicon Valley type of bank. Others point out to the heavy Israeli startup money held in Silicon Valley bank accounts who just happened to be protesting heavily against Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's activities in Israel. You really shouldn't upset Bibi. Netanyahu represents a giant Likud-based drug trafficking ring operating for decades all over the world. It's advisable not to upset him and his City of London crew. That crew also includes Hein Kissinger and Rupert Murdoch, the multi-billion-dollar alt-media star. That's sarcasm, by the way. Tucker Carlson has a lot to say about this story. Yes, he's quite an alt-media star, and believe me, this is not a right-left thing. The other side is also ludicrously laughable, but it's the fact that so many are turning to Fox News when it clearly hates Donald Trump.
This is the Tucker Carlson America Sees on Camera.
The outcome of our presidential election was seized from the hands of voters.
But new court documents revealing a very different Carlson behind the scenes. Texting a producer on January 4th, 2021, just 2 days before the Capitol attack, saying of Trump, "I hate him passionately. I can't handle much more of this." We were very, very close to being able to ignore Trump most nights. Admitting what a disaster it's been is too tough to digest. But come on, there isn't really an upside to Trump. Those private remarks, a total contrast to Carlson's public comments, like these at a conservative event just a few months ago.
I actually love Donald Trump as a guy. I'm so grateful that Donald Trump ran in 2016. Donald Trump completely changed my view of everything.
His private messages were released as part of Dominion Voting System's $1.6 billion defamation lawsuit against the right-wing network, revealing that Fox News stars and top executives didn't actually believe the lie they put on air that the 2020 election was stolen. But amid falling ratings, the network continued to promote Trump and his lies.
Feel the love, the intense, beautiful love.
and is trying to get rid of him, along with Rupert Murdoch and Heinz Kissin, to replace him with Ron DeSantis, or God forbid, Rhino Republican and Governor of New Hampshire, Chris Sununu. All these occult media stars. These multitude of factors sure sound feasible, but I have another theory, and it involves this little crappy office block in Concord, New Hampshire, USA. What is that little office block? That's the home of CT Corporation System. Wow, you'd think this giant, multi-billion-dollar private equity fund would have a better office. Looks like one of those dodgy little offices out of Panama or, the Virgin Islands or, the Cayman Islands, run by some 78-year-old couple in them highlands somewhere. I mean, come on, you can see where this is going. Wait for it. So what am I getting at? Silicon Valley Bank is a giant depository of New Hampshire drug money. Only a tiny portion of the money was insured and under $250,000. The rest of the deposits, 97% of them, are giant drug money accounts in the billions, and the cartel started pulling it out. Why? To punish naughty leftist progressive equity and inclusion infatuated Israeli startups who hate Bibi? Could that be it? I don't think so. No, we put to you the feds are after the money due to Mike Gill's revelations, and the infestation of corrupt politicians have warned the account holders to get their money out. Now. No one removes their money overseas outside the US banking system at this stage of the world economy game. There is nowhere to go. Except maybe Israel? Now remember, SVB or Silicon Valley Bank and many of the other banks now involved in the sudden collapse are flush with the accounts of Israeli startup tech companies. 500 of them. Wow, that's a lot in Silicon Valley Bank alone. That's also a great way to launder drug money. After all, 80% of tech startups fail, and if the money is all in Israel, it's safely stashed away. Or in fact, it's all heading back to Israel as we speak. The US economy dominates and always will, no matter the fantasies of the BRICS lovers. The giant US military-industrial complex ensures the big money floods into US banks, except when you have incontrovertible proof, as well as a public groundswell of interest, demanding the giant New Hampshire drug and money laundering operators are brought to account, all $932 billion of it. Let's talk about New Hampshire and the Pandora Papers in this article from the New Hampshire Business Review and journalist Bob Sanders, titled, What the Pandora Papers Say About New Hampshire. It was published on the 27th of October 2021. $932.5 billion. That's the value of assets under management by a rapidly growing trust industry ostensibly based in New Hampshire. They have increased by more than $250 billion in just the last year, and it's not a complete total. The past year's infusion is triple the amount reportedly going into South Dakota, where several trusts have been scrutinized after the release earlier this month of the so-called Pandora Papers. Those papers, the latest of a series of massive leaks, document and expose the movement of nefarious money shielded by foreign trusts by people looking to avoid taxes and scrutiny. Some of that money came from politicians, kings and billionaires and was used for questionable, if not criminal, purposes. Lately, that money has been coming to the United States in trust havens, notably South Dakota, whose loose rules and regulations rival the most notorious offshore jurisdictions. In coverage about the Pandora Papers, New Hampshire has been mentioned as a place where it is easy to form trusts, but in some ways the state has overtaken South Dakota as the premier place to secretly stash foreign assets, both in trusts and in relatively new and even less regulated family law foundations. End quote. It's interesting to note that Jerry Little, banking commissioner in charge of all financial audits in New Hampshire, says this in the article. Quote, if we do find out something is going on here, it will probably be because of the Pandora Papers, he said, because of the extreme amount of confidentiality written into the state's law. Wow. The banking commissioner in charge of regulating all banks and financial institutions doesn't know what's in New Hampshire. I bet he knows what's in your bank account, and you better have your taxes right. You'll be swatted and taken to jail. But these are the rules for others. They don't even hide this. Mike Gill had extensive dealings with Jerry Little in New Hampshire, and he is right up there at the top of the New Hampshire cartel. They all are, including Rhino Governor Chris Sununu. They are all totally corrupt, and that includes Jerry Little.
Do you know how much information I've got, for instance, on all these auto loans? Get these people in the back, too. With all the, did you know that they've been laundering money through that? Drug money? Now you don't want to audit them anymore, right? Isn't that your law? You passed the law. Isn't that your bill? What? Is that your bill? Are you kidding me? Oh, I'm paying it. But I'm also sending you to jail. You're okay with that? Because I am. Got a meeting with Mr. Trump, right, Mr. Trump? We take out little. You take out the cover for the drug laundering, right? I told you about immunities. We have an immunity, and it's not your name, but here you go. Here's the check, right? All set? There you go. Thank you. No, don't shake my f***ing hand. I'm going to put you in jail. You assholes think this is funny?
He knows exactly what's going on. Previous to Jerry Little being appointed by Governor Sununu in 2016 was Glenn Perlow. He was the banking commissioner working closely with Democrat operators Bill and Janine Shaheen. He was the man responsible for endless, harassing audits of Mike's bank accounts. All the while, the little viper was covering for the giant New Hampshire drug and drug money laundering operation. As part of the $50 million payout to Mike Gill in return for his silence was a release for Glenn Perlow, meaning all documents relating to him must be returned to the insurer paying Mike the $50 million, and Mike could say nothing about him, ever. Also, along with many others on the $50 million confidentiality agreement, including Bill Shaheen and all the usual players, Andrew Cruz, Deacon Agnost, Alex Walker, Bill Grana, to name a few. It even includes his wife's therapist. They were totally covering up the incident as if it had never happened. That's what the $50 million was for. But with the Mike Gill revelations gaining new traction and a new social network dialing in, some in very interesting places, certain foreign account holders are panicking. And the corrupt account holders and their friends are running for the door, and it ain't stopping. But that's okay. The United States Marine Corps and the US 5th and 6th Fleet can go and get it back. Remember, money is never lost. It's always transferred. One of the worst words you can ever use in finance is lost money. It's never lost money. It's transferred. It's somewhere else. So who has it? They love to say money is lost because that means it's lost. So there's no need to go looking for it. The money is not lost. It's transferred. Just like 2008, $5 trillion was not lost out of the US economy. It was transferred out of the US economy. So go get it. I have a few ideas about where it is. To understand what's happening, the missing link and all the analysis, I want you to look at what Silicon Valley Bank bought in 2021. Boston Private Bank and Trust Company is a registered company in the state of New Hampshire. Yeah, now you're getting it. It's got a big, beautiful office in Boston, Massachusetts, befitting a giant multi-billion-dollar company. However, its agent is CT Corporation System in Concord, New Hampshire. That's just up the road from Bedford, where Bill Shaheen and all the gang hang out. Now you're getting it. So what exactly is an agent in relation to a corporate financial structure? An LLC registered agent is an individual or entity designated by an active company, such as a limited liability.
So let's say theoretically, you've got some good rackets going on, done some illegal gun running, trafficked some drugs, robbed a few banks or jewelry stores, done some insider trading. The point is, you're a professional criminal who's only loyal to one
of the state of New Hampshire. Foster and Delaney. What did I tell you that they ran for cover for the cartel? What did she poster child of what Pandora Papers is?
In the United States, the instrument is a non-charitable purpose trust. For now, these trusts are available in Delaware, New Hampshire, South Dakota, and Wyoming.
And he was so paranoid and carrying on, and every time you tried to explain something to him, do you not believe what I say? I can't deal with you, dude. I just cannot deal with you any longer. And I just edged away, and I realized he's just an effing ridiculous, arrogant piece of garbage, because he knew all those people. All the people he complains about were friends of his and his lawyers until they turned on him. And what started was a fight between Mike Gill and the Bill Shaheens of the world, who run the Clinton Foundation up there in New Hampshire with his wife and a bunch of crooks. Fine. So if you want to know what Mike Gill did Mike Gill ever tell you the fact that we were going to hand that directly to General Milley? Did he ever tell you that? You know what happened 2 weeks after I gave a picture of that colonel? The sister, I told him about Leah. I'm not going to say their names after this, just a first name. And it was, if you don't know, if this is new to you, I put their names everywhere, pictures of them when I just got really pissed off with the whole scene. That's when everything went shh, because you don't understand who's approached me. I keep telling you the highest levels have approached me. I said, no, $3.8 million. Give me $3.8 million. I am not lying for you, and I'm gone. I'm just going to find somewhere isolated and build a ranch or something. I'm not lying for you. All right? I've done everything I can. I've ruined my fucking health. I'm in a complete mess. Oh, no money for you. No. And if you don't do what we say, the money goes down. It's going dropping. So that's what happens when you don't play the game. That's why everyone you see online is full of shit and are being paid. They are paid opposition. Okay? They're looking for good help. And they've got to find paid liars who will lie. I will not lie for them. I refuse to lie for them. I'm just not doing it. End of story. With Christ on your lips. You don't put Christ on your lips and then lie. You're a demon straight off the bat. Pure demon. Portals are open. You're getting infested with demons if you put Christ on your lips and then you lie. Done. Finished. And God's not happy. So with that in mind, what happened? Did Mike Gill tell you about that his stuff was being handed to General Milley himself and the Pentagon? No, he never said a word, did he? Because his FBI handlers told him, do not give them anything. And what happened after that? 2 weeks after I sent that message, what happened? Silicon Valley Bank collapses. Boston Private Trust. All that money out of the Pandora Papers. All that drug money, over $1 trillion. Which was all going through Silicon Valley Bank, which was what? Part of that drug money laundering tech network. It's drug money laundering. They create a tech startup, a unicorn over in Israel. Oh, those geniuses from Unit 8200. Oh, they're such geniuses. It's just a big drug money laundering. The company goes bust and $280 million has just been transferred into Israel. That's what Silicon Valley Bank was. Nobody puts over $250,000 in cash. They actually did a breakdown of all the Silicon Valley Bank accounts. They did a whole breakdown. Some of them were over $2 million. They averaged $1.8 million. It was drug money. You put it in bonds where you're guaranteed return. You don't get any money back if a bank collapses over 250 grand. It just shows it's a drug money laundering bank. Silicon Valley Bank was a drug money laundering bank linked in with Boston Private Trust. And they're running money up through New Hampshire, running it into Boston Private Trust, and then it was going through into Silicon Valley Bank. That's what was going on in plain view. And we bought the bank down. Just so you know. And I'll show you. But let's listen to this. We're going to use Dana Loesch as a sounding board. She's as bad as the other. She's complaining about Candace. It's just a big interscene fight. That's all it is. A big fight amongst an organized crime gang. That's all it is. She's mates with the McCains, which is Dick Cheney's crew.
I saw this. Let me start out by saying this. I saw this story, excuse me, that gets into how a growing portion of the quote unquote right says that young people are delaying marriage because they can't afford to buy a house and establish financial security first. Yes, housing is expensive. But I also think that this is not...
Housing is expensive. Yeah, same in Australia, 5 times more than it should be, yes. And of course, they don't want to upset anyone because then all the boomers and the Gen Xers who bought their properties when they were cheaper and could afford to buy them, they will then lose value in their portfolio. And of course, what do you have? All the corporates buying up all the houses. She doesn't mention that. See, they're all full of shit. All of them. Tell me about all the giant BlackRock buying up thousands of houses. Tell us about that. Look, it's all part of a very structured game to stress the hell out of you. Stressed people can't think. It really is. I'm telling you now, it's very simple. Stress them out and then you deliver them at the appropriate time. Wait till they roll the technology out before their midterm, before the midterms partly, but also, right? The goodies are going to flow. You watch. This is the great game.
Not a problem that is unique to any generation.
No, it is unique to this generation. The prices are absolutely ridiculous and the same problem in Australia, the same problem in Europe. It's ridiculous.
My husband and I got married.
Yeah, when you imported 10 million people, remember?
In 2000. It was, good grief, we rented. We didn't buy a house right away. We rented. We rented a property in Kirkwood, Missouri by I-44. And that's how we started out. So many other, in fact, a lot of boomers who my parents' age, my mom's age, started out like renting. So I think that there's a combination of things.
See, I'm just going to interrupt. That's not the issue. The issue is hope. Oh, okay, I'll rent and I'll be able to afford a house. No, they're renting and they realize I can never afford a house. In fact, I can't even afford my rent. So this is the cross-promoted media. She doesn't get a lot of views on YouTube. She has other channels and things. She's a main player. But the fact she's going after Vance is fascinating. So I still haven't worked it out. I'm actually in a rush. I've got another video which I finished. I got to upload where you'll see where I live, and Elon Musk introduces it. We've got an Elon Musk model now. And you'll see where I live and all sorts of things. Very interesting. But also I got an interview today in 2 hours with a Slovenian journalist. Very interesting. She has interviewed the Russian specialist counterintelligence, CIA. She's interviewed him, Sam Wieseman. He's very interesting. I've watched all his videos. I thought, wow, it's interesting that you turn up at this time. Another one of those things. Anyway, the point is she's very interesting. And from Slovenia, maybe she's my GRU asset, but that's coming soon. And I'll give you the link to the interview and you can watch it. I'll record it as well and put it up later, but you can go and see it on her channel first.
Happening here. And one of the big things is so you have a growing segment of the right that says young people are delaying marriage, but they're also looking at, I think they judge things differently than
I'm sorry for interrupting. It's hope. They don't have any hope. They're being told they're all going to die. The robots are coming. China's going to take over. World War III is going. So look at this. This is could you imagine if it was a true meritocracy like America is supposed to be, a meritocracy, when it's not? It's just pure oligarchy and socialism for the rich. That's what it is. The fantasy of American capitalism. In the early days, you could have a basic meritocracy. You could come from nothing. Now they've got to join a lodge and suddenly they're Lucky Palmer or Palmer Lucky and he's this cool hip guy in his dad's garage and now suddenly he's building robots and drones. It's all bullshit. They all get recruited and then they're funded by, you trace it back. What does it trace back to? Every time. Rothschild. Every time. I can tell you endless stories, but I'd like to keep on track. Just quickly, orbital engine, Ralph Sarich was all over the news internationally, two-stroke motor, a unique fuel injection system, which actually wasn't that unique. It's a standard. You evaporate the fuel. It's injected in as a gas by a special injector. It cools the air and you get massive fuel efficiency, 70 miles to the gallon. Old technology, been around forever. They just keep disappearing it. I knew the head engineer, Robert Parent. I went to school with him. And I was 24 years old, 1994, working at Arcadia, Club Arcadia. Fights every night, or everyone's covered in blood, shirts are ruined. And Robert would come in. And I said, what's happening with Ralph and the orbital engine stuff? Where is it? We've been waiting years. He goes, you're never going to see it. He said they bought him out. He just got bought out for $400 million back in 94. I said, hey, what do you mean bought him out? He says, no one would let him. He wanted to build factories. They wouldn't let him build factories. The union movement stopped him. The corporates were stopping him. He had the local government wouldn't let him build. Everyone came against him. And eventually he just gave up and sold out. And you know where all the patents were? Well, they went to Ford. Ford Motor Company owns those patents to that originally a Wankel rotary orbital engine, which they then made into a standard two-stroke for motorbikes, outboard motors in boats, and two-stroke cars, which could get up to 120 kilowatts of power and 70 miles to the gallon in small cars. And Robert used to drive it from Perth to Kalgoorlie to Esperance, 1,500 kilometers on a tank of gas. I'm getting it from the horse's mouth, one of the top engineers at the company. Sorry, one of the junior engineers, but he's hanging with Ralph Sarich, driving around his expensive Mercedes. Really cool guy, Ralph Sarich. You've never heard of him. Lo and behold, he says it's Ford Motor Company. So the Yanks got it. He said, no, Americans don't have that. He said it's in London. I said, what do you mean? Ford's a US company. He goes, no, it's not. It's in London. The patents are all held in London. That's where he had to fly to London to sign the forms. And I'm like, what? London? But back then I was too stupid, still learning, doing my nursing degree, working as a nightclub doorman. So that's just a little tidbit for you. And then I didn't understand until later on. When you look, all these companies are American. The patent technology, the IP, it's American. Oh, when you look, all the way back to the city of London, nearly every time. Every time. Let's continue. But it's about hope. There's no hope. These don't have any hope. Right? Because they're going to be delivered. This is a script. This is Wag the Dog. The script, the hero will deliver this generation. And you will hand over your autonomy, you will hand over your agency, and you will say, tell me what to do, oh great leader. Does this sound familiar? Do you remember Germany in absolute ruins, prostitutions everywhere, strip clubs, pornography everywhere, just totally degenerate? And the deliverer came, the hero came to save the German people. Just give us all your autonomy and agency and do as you're told, and we will deliver you. And that's the game, the great game, to put everyone back under oligarchy, back under nepotism and these old families of Europe and the UK. And they're all through the United States. You'd have to kill thousands of them. You have to kill a few to make them run. Can I say that? I'm just telling you, that's how I feel. I have no capacity. If you want to choose to start killing people, that's your business, and you will go to jail for the rest of your life. I want professional killers from the military to start doing their job, defending the United States and the US Constitution and Bill of Rights. That's the job, the ultimate job of the military, to defend the US Constitution from all enemies, foreign and domestic. And maybe one day America might live up to that Constitution. Who dare to dream? And it's their job to kill, detain, arrest, try, execute the people who are trying to subvert the US Constitution. That's their job. So look, he's calling for murder. No, I'm calling for the execution of scum for multiple reasons. And if you kill a big bunch of them, watch the rest run, because they've never been punched in the face. Sorry, I have to say it. Where are the professional killers of the military? You can't wait to jump on a damn plane and kill a bunch of third worlders, but you can't seem to get the crackers in Armani, the communists in Armani. No, we're going to fight Mandami, aren't we? We're going to fight him. He'd be dead in 2 seconds if he threatened the billionaires of New York. If he threatened Wall Street, Mandami, some half-wit. We're going to do this. We're going to tax the rich. And the rich are going, oh no, don't do that. This is the great game. See, use your brains. Hamas living in 5-star hotels in Qatar. Use your brains.
Previous generations did, in terms of what you get at what age, how you should start out, etc.
Has any hope?
Like a lot of the
everyone has destabilized perception. Sorry, I'm making it impossible, but you're my therapist. Help me.
A lot of the boomers, when they started out, they were renters, as I said, and it's sort of like the same formula. I feel like sometimes history's being retconned a little bit, but they get married and then they start out in life and then they have a more solidified, a stronger base, right? Marriage would always come before the mortgage. So there's some data that came, let me look at this. There was some data that came out. It's over at AEI. And they were looking at marriage came before mortgage, Americans under the age of 35, 1 year into their first marriage, rented versus owned. And so in the 60s, in the 1960, and of course this comes from census and American Community Survey data, so it comes from previous census history, etc. So in 1960, it was 83% rented, 17% owned. So this was in 1960s newlyweds. Americans under the age of 35, 1 year into their first marriage, rented versus owned. So 1960, 83% rented, 17% owned. In 1980, 70% rented, 30% owned. And in 2023, 58% rented, 42% owned. So there's something that's being missed here. And no one
let me tell you a story. My parents didn't buy a house till 1983. That was when the government bought out a first home buyers grant, where they would pay the initial deposit of $7,000, I think it was at the stage. So you could just go and get that grant from the taxpayers of Australia. My parents went and got that. They then, of course, had to take out mortgage insurance. And we got our first house. And I was 12. My sister was 14. And my parents were in their late 30s. My mother and my dad was 41. Till they owned a house. So not owning a house until later is not the issue. That was standard in the olden days. It's hope. It's forwarding eggs. Some of the prices people are telling me in Australia and America, I'm just going, what the? I'm paying $2 for a dozen eggs. Not that I eat eggs now, at the moment anyway. $2. But Mexicans are complaining on their wages. So it's everywhere. They're doing it on purpose. So the point is hope. It's not when you own a house. This is another fake debate.
saying that housing isn't expensive, but I think that there's a lot of nuance that's just absolutely bulldozed over.
Yeah, like billionaires pay no tax. So I've got to agree with Bernie Sanders, who's also a multi-zillionaire communist bullshit artist, hypocrite. But he's right, Bezos pays $50 million for a wedding. No one said, Jeff, I don't know if it's a good idea to have this huge, lavish $50 million wedding. I don't think that's a good idea, bro. And pay no tax. But now I'm a commie. That's why they invent Mandami. Oh, you're a commie like Mandami or Bernie Sanders. So we can't have a normal, rational debate. This should be a debate amongst Republicans, the traditional conservative issue. Oh, yeah, share it around. Let's have some business, more money available, more taxpayer funding. That's good. And if you're a dynamic go-getter, you get tax breaks, reasonable regulation, reasonable. But they always take things to extreme. See? She'll go on and listen to her. Big government. Not giant corporate transnational oligarchies, not the Federal Reserve. Oh, no.
For take your pick, narrative, agenda, whatever it is. Most people, the affordability debate is always the accusation that the boomers just as a friend put it, the boomers pulled up the ladder behind them. I mean, I think that that's what it is. And ultimately, that's not...
It's not international banking cartels and giant oligarchy and transnational corporations that refuse to pay tax in their Cayman Island and Swiss bank accounts. No, it's not them. People who start wars, start popular culture, create a drug war, drug trade, prison industrial complex, and can constantly manipulate local... No, it's not them. It's the boomers. They did it. Imagine if we can't even focus on what matters. Look at this dumb bitch. Can't stand the sight of her. They're all stinking. Candace Owens stinks. Carlson stinks. And here's the opposition. This stinking fucking whore. I can't hold my tongue on these people. These liars. I can't hold my tongue. Children of hell, sons of your father the devil, the damn lot of you, a brood of vipers with Jesus on your lips. Charlie Kirk, Turning Point USA 2018, visiting Turning Point USA with Candace Owens on the first class trip as Jesus on his first class donkey would go. And there they all met Rothschild's network and got funding. Masses of funding. And there was the handler, Candace Owens. And when Erica Kirk turned up, he was going to her for advice. From her own mouth. Can't you see? Charlie Kirk, this Jesus love, big strong man, 6'4". Hey, Turning Point USA will take on those filthy commies. There's George Soros, there's Kissinger, there's Rothschild. They kill their own.
Really,
like Andrew Tate too. Watch that.
We had big government that made housing a scarcity, and not because we're short resources or we're short land or we're short anything else, but
big government created the shortfall, not BlackRock. See, this is what I mean. This is the level of debate. I've either got to go to Bernie, hypocrite, scumbag Sanders, multimillionaire Democrat, socialist commie, visiting the Soviet Union with his shirt off, or I got to go to this dumb bitch. Oh, free market, small government, she says, with the McCains and the old Dick Cheney crew. Filthy, dirty oligarch socialism for the rich, free markets for the poor. There's my fucking choice. That's not a choice. And then you have Mary Silver plugging away up there in Seattle in Commieland, trying to get people together. We either get together or they're going to kill us all. Jews, Christians, Muslims, commies, gays, straight, transgender, they're going to kill us all if we don't get together. And the aim of big banks, big family oligarchy, giant transnational corporate bodies. Do you ever find it strange that they're going about big government, big government, big government? You will never hear from their mouths big, giant, non-tax-paying Cayman Island account corporates. Faceless, gigantic hedge funds. Hello, anybody?
We're short, smart people in government.
And then you go to a more perfect union. Oh, they do some reasonable stuff. Oh, funded by George Soros. And it's like, fuck, God, just...
government. That's really what it is. So if you look at a lot of these problems economically with housing or with food, or we had the burrito economy, and we're going to talk with our friend Carol Roth about that specifically later this week. You can trace all of this down to not due to a lack of scarcity, not due to a lack of anything but smart people in government. Big government makes things miserable, which is
not the Federal Reserve. Big government, not giant non-taxpaying Cayman Island accounts transnational corporates. There should be punishments for lying. Life. It's treason. It's subversion. When does it get applied to these whores? Because let me tell you, they start dropping, they'll stop talking. You don't like hearing that, do you? I don't give a fuck if YouTube banned. I couldn't give a shit. At what point do we put up with these demon clowns who lie and know they're lying on the most basic stuff? This is basic stuff. Big government, big government. You mean for, of, and by the people, big government, where I can have a say if I choose to actually engage in it? Where we can go, that regulation's a bit silly. You're not going to ban a multi-billion-dollar development because there's some rare possum which may or may not be there. Because what they do, then you find behind these giant non-profits is another billionaire, trillionaire banker in front for Rothschild. Stopping development. So you don't build coal-fired power stations. So you don't drill for oil. But China just keeps right on drilling and coal-fired power stations. Is she going to talk about that? She's going to blame the boomers. It's the boomers' fault.
This is why I always come back to, why are some on the right wanting to, they think that they can wield government and use more government to make the big government better. Does that make sense?
Yeah, you can. It's called getting people to become involved in local politics, which she will never tell you to do. She's just the other side of the same hand every time, right hand, left hand.
Never understood this. I was having a conversation about this with James Lindsay earlier.
All right, I have to stop. This is this bullshit from this witch piece of garbage. They're all about Erica Kirk's a piece of shit. Who the hell wears hot pants and has this? It's all world wrestling. It's Ari Emanuel. Who does that? It's to say it's weird. Really? Do you need Joe Rogan to tell you it's weird? And that little hug, that innocent hug with J.D Vance. Oh, that was so sexual. It was oozing. It was painful to watch. But we'll discuss Charlie Kirk's underpants. I mean, we must know what color. Candace will tell us. What color were Charlie Kirk's underpants? How high was the microphone on his chest? 1 inch high? 1 inch lower? We need to know. And she's got that demographic. There's another demographic handled over there, another demographic hand, and they put them in a bubble and they seal the watertight door, the information door, and everyone just goes squawk, squawk, squawks to each other. Brilliant. That's enough from her on this. Let's get to the interesting bit. Sorry for my language. I'm not going to beep it out. I don't care anymore. I got to look at demons all day.
So like I said, Vance is running. He's absolutely running. And there are a couple of things to point out here with this. The first is that this video that came out over the weekend, wherein he was talking about, and I listened to the entire discussion that he had, not just the clip. I listened to it several times. Then I went and listened to everything else that he has said about this, which we're going to unpack this week. There's tons of videos, tons of written word, tons of speeches that he's given where he has talked about this, about eliminating the dollar as the world, the reserve currency. And I'm very much against that for very obvious reasons. And you could sit here and talk about Triflin dilemma. You could talk about, every other scenario. But the bottom line is that it is an absolute protection. I want to play the clip first, because this went viral and it kicked off a big old thing over the weekend. This is, what is this, cut 4? Is this, that's the one particular. Yeah, let's play cut 4 because he's talking about ending the dollar's position as the global reserve currency. Listen.
That's exactly right. And by the way, I'm this is like maybe super heterodox. I am not sure that I think the reserve currency is actually good for the United States of America. I think there is a good argument that reserve currency status is akin to coal in Appalachia. It's a resource curse, right? It allows your consumers to consume very cheaply, right? That's been the story of the American economy for the last 15 or so years. even before.
That's not the purpose of US dollar domination. That's not the purpose of that. So you can consume. That's a separate issue that can be handled with tariffs. There's a whole range of things you can do for that. US dollar domination is so US can dominate. When it was done under Kissinger and Associates, Rothschild, when that was done, that was to use American power to smash the world to pieces to build the multipolar world order, which he is now advocating for. Like, I'm in shock, but I'm pleased. Now I can hate the prick. Beautiful. And just wish and destroy as much as I can with my little audience. J.D. Fake Production Vance. Fake Ron Howard. Huge Hollywood makes his book is pathetic. It was probably written for him. He's just this half-witted, manufactured half-wit. That's why I'd rather Marco Rubio handled by Paul Singer of that prick. They're all pricks. But J.D. Vance is so fake, it makes you sick for the working man. So what are you going to do, Steve? Steve, there's no way Steve Bannon would be for this. This is the multipolar world order. And there's J.D. Vance, giving the game away.
Or that is we can just borrow basically in an unlimited way because we have the reserve currency.
No. You borrow in as much as you want because you've got a gigantic economy. You are a technological powerhouse, which has gradually been eroded by certain people. That's what all we talk about. You've been completely backdoored in all your critical infrastructure. All your manufacturing was sent overseas. That's why you're powerful. Or you've lost your power. And you've got giant aircraft carrier battle groups, and you control the Strait of Hormuz. You control the Straits of Malacca. You control the Suez Canal. You control the Panama Canal. That's what makes America so powerful. That's why I can borrow. It's not just how do you keep a reserve bank currency? How do you make the US dollar reserve? How do you make it that way? Do you think it's because it's the most powerful economy in the world? No, it's because everyone's shit scared they'll get a B-2 bomber on their head. It's power. That's good. Can you pick up the sword, America, and use it and take some heads off the right people? Well, they are at the moment, but I'm starting to worry a little that with the bond market and Carney running around. Remember that timeline, January 2026? They're up to something. There's no way that little small dick piece of shit Mark Carney, London central banker masquerading as the Canadian Prime Minister, is running around taking on America, unless Epstein ring and the critical infrastructure backdoor. They've laid down the law. No, we're not doing it. No, stop attacking Iran. Stop taking down our assets. China, Russia, Iran. Stop putting big bases in our little asset, Israel. Once you understand that, you can start to feel the tremors. At some stage, something has to break, and the US elites have to be honest with the people and say, we are taking over the world. We are bringing the Bank of International Settlements out of Switzerland and we're putting it in Washington. We will completely dominate the planet from sunup till sundown. And Americans must become involved and free the slaves worldwide. Death to the Wahhabists. Death to the Shia clerics. Death to anyone and everyone that forces their opinion, their views, and their values on anybody. We can all agree on basic values, which is what? Live and let live. Freedom. It's pretty simple. No one really needs to get up in the morning and study socialism or Wahhabism or communism or Catholicism or capitalism to work out how to take the garbage out in the morning. We all know how to live. It's very simple. But we are constantly manipulated into killing each other, so we won't go to the guy in the palace and say, how come you're in a palace? It's just handed to you. You don't work. You wear shiny shit on your head, and apparently I've got to worship you like a god. And that's what they're terrified of, losing their power, because once you hold the power, you start to believe you're indispensable and that no one can live without you. Like any psychopath, you have to have worshippers. And that's gone. It's gone. And they just can't accept it. It's just, I told you, we're going to win. Freedom's going to win. It's just how many die along the way. It's simply a matter of how much misery will there be along the way. It doesn't have to be a lot of misery. So why can't US elites just come out? Because I promise you, the EU elites and the Russian elites and all the rest, and they're all tied in with the Rothschild. They're all tied in with that moneyed old UK inbred system. They're all tied in. They all know what's going on. So why can't you tell the French people? hey, look, we're going to take over and we're going to let the French be French and the Germans be Germans, the Slavs be Slavs, and the Arabs be Arabs, and you can sort out your own shit, but we will be dominating trad rats and we will be enforcing the rule of freedom, of reasonable people coming together with secure, firm borders, secure boundaries, so everyone can stabilize and have a firm foundation and we can take it from there. Then we can get this AI and this quantum and this massive scientific stuff we're going to come out with via a huge simulator that we're building. And we can reach for the stars. We can create new technologies you won't believe. And we'll release the technologies that we already have and we've been hiding. That's all they have to do. Just come out with that and just tell the truth. Well, they can't. They can't tell the truth. Because to admit all this will be to admit so much murder, mayhem, and they've just got to admit to it. They've got to admit to 9/11 with their little friends. They pretend Russian Jews in Israel. Israel's not doing anything alone. Neither is Russia, neither is China, neither is Iran. They're all assets of the City of London. And US elites they're so corrupt, they can't come out and say anything. Well, they're going to have to, because you remember Peter Wright? What did Margaret Thatcher? Well, we're embarrassed. That's the best you can say. They got a $50 billion intelligence community, but you couldn't work out what was going on to your critical infrastructure. They've got to keep this terrorism bullshit going and keep building more flock cameras. And you keep carrying around your mobile phone complaining about flock cameras while you input every thought, desire, and your location data. It's all happening in the background, whether you switch it off or not. There's no rhetoric talk about, well, we're America, so why have we got all this surveillance shit? Are we going to pull it down over 5 years with legislation saying we will, by within 10 years, pull down all of this stuff? Or will we create places for people to go, smart cities? And if you're a half-wit, you can go into that smart city. It'll all be handed to you. But those of us who want freedom will form our communities and we will be free. Maybe we need to start articulating that, talking about it, becoming involved in politics. And you've got an army of half-wits, hairless apes that'll tell you politics is hopeless. Doesn't matter how far Mary Silver gets, you'll be convinced she's a CIA asset. You'll be convinced that only people with heavy connections can possibly change anything. And there's Mary struggling along, largely on her own with a few people. 42,000 votes, couldn't get a single person to help hold a camera. Imagine she can get 42,000 votes from her county, upper middle class, very reasonably wealthy, intelligent community. 42,000 votes. Couldn't get anyone to hold a camera. Not a soul. Not a soul will help her. Not a fucking soul. Except Dawn on occasion and a couple of people. And people were busy. People said, I work full time. I just don't have the time. See, all the good people are working, paying mortgages. That's the point. You look at those people who are paying mortgages and they're just sensible, good people. But they got no time. Who are the people online all day, I'd like to know? Working for the enemy or half-wits on mental health pensions. That's a problem. I think I'm going to stop. I'll leave the links. You can see the links to the original video she's quoting below. We're never going to get anywhere till the correct narrative is out there and out of the hands of Bernie Sanders and AOC and this dumb bitch and the rest of the clown show. Out of the hands of Candace Owens. I'm sorry, there's no one coming to save you. I'm just sorry. I'm sorry, not even King Clown Trump. They're all making out like bandits. I'm sorry. More to come. Big video coming up. The blockade of Taiwan is next. Remember, they can't go to full-scale war. So how do you reorder society at a time like this, like 1933? What do you do where they brought in new standards and a version of the universal basic income? They started bringing in the dole and massive government work programs and so on. Well, we're at that stage again. We're in the 1930s. Again, history never repeats. It rhymes. This rhymes. It's almost repeating, literally. You can see it happening. So how do we reorder this? We'll have a war. Well, they can't have wars like they used to, so we'll have the appearance of a war. We'll have a blockade, and they'll do deals behind the scenes. And they'll also, you control your local population, and we will control ours. And you can do this, this, and this. Or we'll just drop an A-bomb on you. How about that? And they're doing deals behind the scenes. There's nothing I can tell. I have nothing positive for you because you won't move. You're going to blame the Jews or Dana, this piece of shit old witch, Dana Loesch, or that piece of garbage, Erica Kirk, or your hero. So many of you love Charlie. Charlie Kirk was a miserable piece of shit. Jesus on his lips. Wake up late 2023, did he? Missed it for the last... What do you think the genocide of the Gazans started in October the 7th, 2023? I'm sorry, I've been watching that for 25, 30 years. Did you miss it when 20% of Gaza was flattened in 2008, 2009 under Operation Cast Lead? Did you miss that? What do you think? This is the first time this has happened? Where was your outrage then? You've been granted the outrage by the City of London and their asset, Xi Jinping and TikTok. That's what brought it on. Why did they release all that stuff? Their asset, Israel, had to be taken out of the hands of US elites and handed to the EU and City of London. That's what they're doing. And the US was to withdraw. The US was to give up US dollar hegemony. So when you hear that piece of shit, J.D. Vance, ooh. So I welcome your comments. But just remember this. If you're going to agree with me and say something like, well, I told you so, I'm going to ask you, what have you done? We're all going to die. Listen, I want to stop doing reaction videos and go into more history again because I can see it's a waste of time. I'm just here to survive. My money just keeps going down, 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 down. That's saying this is not the approach. Stop attacking Candace Owens. It doesn't matter how many times you tell people, casually, firmly, with evidence. I don't have a theory she's in with the Rothschilds. It's self-evident who her and Tucker Carlson work for. All right? It's not a theory. The reason the money is going down is not because genuine grassroots people are, oh, please don't attack Candace. It's because they're part of the system. I probably have $1,000 of organic money, right? The other $2,500 is just fake UBI money. They make electronic credit cards. I can make an electronic credit card. They can make thousands. And then they just pay. That's how they pay people. And when you, as an asset or a potential asset, say the right things, your money goes up. And you quickly learn, oh, if I'm like Promethean action and I put my tongue up Trump's asshole daily and tell everyone he's a genius, whilst giving partial truth, I make money. And I get a role up there in Wisconsin or Minnesota, wherever they are, in the Republican Party. But in 2020, that whole Promethean action was cheering for the Belt and Road and the end of the US dollar. They were cheering for it. Go China. Suddenly, oh, they've turned around. Now they're big fans of the US dollar. Are they? You can see the great game unfolding. Question all these people. My life is in a UN document, my entire life. Broken bones, jail. And I can't compete with these people because it's just so fucking controlled. Now, if I was a US citizen, I'd be killing the pig. Killing the pig, mate. I'd take over that country in 5 minutes. 5 minutes. 5 freaking minutes. But you just can't believe that's possible because you don't understand politics. You don't understand the power of a few people to change radically when you simply get offline. Just got news from a friend in Western Australia now. He's running amok down there, handing out stuff. He's got a narrative why national security is important, why the Australian government keeps doing what it does. And they're cracking down more now because the blockade of Taiwan is coming. That's what I'm going to talk about in the next video. That's why they're stockpiling all this stuff. And it's going to give multiple backends, forms of control. There'll be artificial scarcity. You can get that app on your phone to limit hyperinflation. That's what's coming. There's not going to be wars. There's not going to be World War III coming. Get real. These whores, all they're worried about is their bank accounts. And you think these whores would go to World War III? Are you insane? Think about what you're saying. World War III, my ass. These clowns are just going to sit there and do a little deal amongst each other and jerk each other off at one of their little parties. That's what they're going to do. Everyone gets everything they deserve, including you. So don't tell me COVID, your children, vaccine, mass murder, and then tell me all you're capable of is watching videos, clicking some links. Don't tell me that. COVID changed everything. 9/11 changed a lot, but COVID, that was it. It should have been you looking to the left and looking to the right with your friends and saying they're going to kill us all. They're literally going to kill us all. This is how far they're prepared to go. They shut down the world economy. Okay. And then you need McCarthy hearings to get these thousands of demonic, multi-generational pieces of filth out of your government, out of your industry. And you can sort out who was a moron and just didn't know. Lots of people, we didn't know. I didn't know. I had to learn. A lot of people don't know. And we can sort those out. You can filter them out. You've got all their opinions. They can't wait to tell you what they think, feel. You're going to have to accept that only violence and military intervention, we need it right now. It's like it's like an emergency department visit. It's not going to be with supplements or some ascorbic acid to cure your upper fermenting gut and some extra magnesium and some extra zinc and some L-Rotary yogurt. No. The body politic is in atrial fibrillation, and it needs some serious medical military intervention right now. And the beautiful thing about it is in the first 5 seconds, you can see who's running for the airports and who's dropping out of the windows. And you'll know. All the right people will be going. Right now, they're putting some performative art on Anthony Fauci and they're going, you're a bad man. No, he's not going to jail. What about the 100 other staff? I notice people are pointing this out, which makes me happy. I'm actually seeing it in my feed. People are pointing this out. What about the 100 other people at the NHS? Jail. And they get worried. What are they? Oh, let's do a blockade of Taiwan. And they just hope they'll keep it going. You'll forget about Epstein. All right? You'll forget about Fauci. You'll forget about the vax. And it's going to move on to the next crisis until you finally learn. You've got to go down, see your military and start talking to your military friends. We know the people we need to go after. They're sitting on Wall Street. They're in the Pentagon, in the appropriations committees. They're all over the place. They're running Judge Hellerstein. They covered up for 9/11. They're all Israeli dual nationals, all of them. We can start right there, and all their associates. You know, all you have to do is read Bolin's book. I'm going to start reading chapters from it. And he just goes into name after name, company after company. Look at this. This is the sort of information you'll get in Chris Bolin Solving 9/11. The executive director of the Port Authority in 1987 was Stephen Berger from 1985 to 1990. Berger was described by Thomas L. Lewick of the New York Times in August 1987 as, quote, a man at the center of New York City's economy, deftly pulling strings in business and government alike. End quote. You've never heard of Stephen Berger. Do you think Stephen Berger and his friends are around today in New York? Of course they are. Do you think they wouldn't put a bullet in Mandami's head in 5 seconds flat if he threatened their billionaire status? Okay, you're getting it now. So this is the sort of stuff that's in Bolin's book. It's not a conspiracy theory. Today, Berger is chairman of Odyssey Investment Partners, a private New York investment firm that specializes in private corporate transactions. Berger is a member of the board of New York Citizens Budget Committee with fellow Zionist Larry Silverstein and Felix Rahatin, all Israeli dual nationals. Philip D. Kaltenbacher was the chairman of the Port Authority's Board of Commissioners from 1985 to 1990. Prior to becoming a Port Authority Commissioner in 1983, Kaltenbacher had been chairman of the New Jersey Republican State Committee. Kaltenbacher's father, Joseph, was a founder of the New Jersey chapter of the American Jewish Committee and a former member of the National Board of Governors of the AJC, a major Zionist organization. Shall we go on? Page after page after page of name, corporate date. Chris Bolin. You've never heard of him. Tucker, if only the CIA would release the files, we could work out who did 9/11. Tucker's here to save us. Boo the perfidious Jews. I'm going to keep reading. I should reach out. I'm going to get a pipe. I'm going to put a little fake beard on like a wizard, put a little wizard hat like out of Lord of the Rings. Stanley Burskoff, who later became executive director of the Port Authority in 1990, was deputy mayor for operations and first deputy mayor under Mayor Edward Irving Koch. At the time of the Port Authority's security contract was being negotiated with Zivir Melkin, a well-known senior Mossad agent. Brezhnev was the second most powerful official in the Koch administration and was the government's chief operator. This is the first time they tried to bring down the towers. Then served as acting mayor in Mr. Koch's absence, according to the New York Times. Brezhnev directed the day-to-day operations of city agencies, including police, fire, and transportation. It is hard to imagine that Brezhnev, whose Yiddish-speaking grandparents had immigrated to the United States in the early 1990s from Russia and Austria, was unaware of the deal to give the Port Authority security contract to Atwell Security of Tel Aviv. Malcolm was, after all, a legendary figure among Zionist Jews, and who owns Atwell Security and now ICTS? Lord Jacob Rothschild. Read it! are all dead.
What is our common bond truly? Freedom. Freedom. Without freedom, you can't be a Christian no matter what denomination you belong to. You can't be a Buddhist. You can't own a donut shop. You can't drive from here to Oregon. You can't be an American because that's what it's all about, and that's the only thing that it's all about. Nothing else. Nothing else. It's about freedom. Only freedom.